If you enjoy these stories, please subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot. Now let's begin. Ethan Ward had spent many long nights alone on the Deep Space Research Base, but tonight felt different. The halls were too quiet. The screens glowed a little too bright, and the cold metal floor echoed every step like someone or something was walking behind him. But there was no one, just Ethan and the endless silence of space. He was checking the outer perimeter readings when the alarm suddenly screamed through the base. A sharp warning siren, red lights flashing, the whole station shaking with a low rumble. Ethan's heart jumped. What is happening? He rushed to the main console. A single message blinked across the screen. Unidentified object approaching. Before he could react, the ground shook again, harder this time. A bright streak of blue fire cut across the sky outside the base dome. A ship burning, falling too fast. Ethan didn't think. He grabbed his suit, ran through the airlock, and sprinted across the rocky surface toward the crash site. Smoke curled into the air, glowing with strange colors he had never seen before. The crashed ship looked nothing like human design. Sharp edges, glowing lines, black metal with patterns moving like liquid. A hatch popped open with a loud hiss. Ethan stepped back, ready for anything. But what he saw made him freeze. A woman, or something like a woman, fell out of the hatch. Tall, blue-skinned. Her armor was cracked and sparking with broken energy circuits. Strange glowing symbols covered her arms. She collapsed onto the ground. Ethan rushed forward, dropping to his knees beside her. Hey, can you hear me? Her eyes stayed closed. Her breathing was slow, too slow. He touched her shoulder to check her pulse. Her hand shot up, faster than anything human, and grabbed his wrist with incredible strength. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Her eyes opened, bright, glowing silver eyes. She stared straight into him, through him, like she could see his entire soul. Then she whispered with a voice that sounded like two voices layered together, soft but powerful. You are my husband now. Ethan froze. His mind went blank. Husband? What are you talking about? But she didn't respond. Her hand loosened. Her eyes rolled back. She slipped into unconsciousness again. Ethan looked around. The ground shook lightly. The crashed ship started sending strange waves of energy into the sky, like a beacon calling someone. He felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't know who this alien woman was. He didn't know what she meant. But he did know one thing. Someone, or something might be coming for her. He lifted her into his arms. She was heavier than she looked, and carried her back toward the base. With every step, he felt as if invisible eyes were watching him from the shadows of space. Inside the base, the doors sealed behind him. Ethan placed her on a medical bed and connected basic monitoring sensors. Her pulse was strong, too strong for a normal human. Her skin glowed faintly like soft blue light moving under the surface. He leaned closer, examining one of the glowing symbols on her arm. Suddenly, her hand moved again. She grabbed his shirt, gentle this time, and opened her eyes just a little. Her voice was quiet, but clear and full of authority. You must obey me. Ethan swallowed hard. Obey you? Why would I? Her fingers tightened weakly around his shirt. Because I am your commander. Her eyes closed again, and she fell asleep. Ethan stepped back slowly, heart pounding. Commander? Wife? Bond? None of it made sense. He turned to the computer to check the outer sensors again. His blood ran cold. Something huge was moving toward the moon's orbit. Something not human. Something searching. The screen flickered as the base's communication system reacted to the strange signal. Ethan whispered to himself, What did I just bring into this base? The alien woman breathed softly behind him, her glowing skin dimming like a dying star. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know what she wanted. He didn't know why she called herself his wife, or why she claimed to be his commander. But one thing was clear. Her arrival was no accident, and whatever she was running from, whatever was looking for her, it was already close. Very close. Ethan stood frozen as another message flashed on the screen. A signal, a warning, a threat. Something whispered through the speakers, distorted, like a voice from the darkest part of the universe. Deliver the Valerian, or be destroyed. Ethan looked back at the unconscious woman. Her arrival had changed everything. And this was only the beginning. The base lights flickered through the long metal hallway as Ethan stepped away from the console, his heartbeat echoing louder than the warning alarms. The message still burned in his mind. Deliver the Valyrian or be destroyed. He turned toward the medical bed where the alien woman lay. Her blue skin shimmered like moonlight on water, soft waves of light moving under her skin as she breathed. She looked peaceful now. Too peaceful for someone being hunted across the galaxy. Ethan moved closer. Her armor was damaged, burnt, marked with deep cuts from weapons he didn't recognize. The glowing symbols on her arms flickered weakly, almost like they were trying to restart. He whispered to himself, "Who are you really?" Before he could think more, her eyes opened again. Silver, bright, sharp like a blade. She looked at him without blinking. "You brought me inside," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "Well, you crashed. And someone is searching for you. Someone dangerous." Her gaze didn't change. "They will come," she said. "They always come." Ethan felt his stomach twist. "Who are they?" She closed her eyes for a moment, as if listening to a distant memory. "The Thorn Collective," she whispered. "A force that destroys everything it touches." Ethan stared at her, shocked. He had never heard that name before. And what do they want?" She looked at him again. This time, her eyes were filled with something new. "Fear. They want me," she said. "And anything connected to me." Ethan felt a chill at her words. Because she had called him her husband. She had called herself his commander. He didn't know what that meant. But he suddenly understood something. He was connected to her now, whether he wanted to be or not. The base shook again, just a soft tremor at first, then harder. Ethan grabbed the edge of the table to steady himself. The alien woman sat up slowly, breathing deeply. Her strength was returning faster than he expected. Ethan stared. "You shouldn't be moving. You're still hurt." She tilted her head slightly, confused by his concern. "My body repairs itself," she said. "Weakness never lasts." Ethan didn't know whether to be impressed or terrified. She touched her chest, where her armor was cracked. "The bond helped," she added softly. Ethan blinked. "The what?" She looked at him like he should already understand. "The life bond," she said. "When I reached for you during the crash. When you touched me. Our energies connected. The ritual was completed." Ethan raised both hands in panic. No. We didn't complete anything. I was just helping you." But she stared at him calmly. "In my culture," she said, "life saved means life shared. You disrupted death. You returned fate. Therefore, I am your wife." Ethan felt the world stop. "What?" She stood up, slow but steady, her height almost equal to his. Her presence filled the room like a storm. "You saved me," she said firmly, "and I accepted the bond. You belong to me now, and I belong to you." Ethan took a step back, hands shaking. "This is insane. I don't even know your name." She looked at him with quiet pride. "My name is Lorana," she said, "commander of the Valyrian Vanguard." He stared at her, breath shallow. "Commander, warrior, alien, wife." It was too much. "And you're being hunted?" Ethan asked. She nodded once. "They will arrive soon," Lorana said. "And when they do, they will kill anyone who stands near me." The base lights flickered again. The console beeped. Another signal appeared on the screen. Ethan checked it and felt his blood freeze. Multiple ships, unknown signatures, moving fast toward the moon's orbit. Lorana stepped beside him, reading the data. "They have found me," she whispered. Her voice carried no fear now, only cold certainty. Ethan looked at her. "So, what do we do?" Lorana turned toward him slowly. Her silver eyes glowed brighter. "You will follow my command," she said. "That is how our bond works." Ethan almost laughed. "No offense, Lorana, but I don't follow orders from strangers." She raised her hand. A small spark of blue energy moved across her fingertips. The entire console shut down for 2 seconds. Ethan stepped back, eyes wide. "What was that?" "Our connection," she said calmly. "I can access your machines through you. Your energy stabilizes my power. That is why they want you as well." Ethan stared at her, stunned. "Me? Why me?" Lorana walked closer, slow, steady steps, until she stood only a few inches away. Her voice softened. "You carry a rare human code," she said. "Only one in millions has it. It allows you to unlock ancient technology. Technology the Thorn Collective wants." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't choose this. I don't want this." Her eyes softened just a little. "Neither did I," she whispered. "Yet here we are." The base shook harder, much harder. Loose tools rattled. The lights dimmed. A deep rumble echoed from outside, like a giant creature breathing over the dome. Lorana turned toward the sound. "They have arrived," she said quietly. Ethan swallowed. "So we fight." She nodded. "We fight together." Ethan grabbed his jacket. Lorana grabbed a broken piece of her armor. Even broken, it glowed like a star. Another tremor hit the base, this time strong enough to knock them both off balance. Lorana steadied herself. "They're scanning the surface," she said. "They will detect us soon." Ethan stared at her. "What do they want with the map you carry?" She looked at him with a long, slow pause. Then she whispered, "A weapon." Ethan felt his heart stop. "What kind of weapon?" Her answer came like ice. "One that can end worlds." The lights flickered, the alarm screamed, and the scanner showed 3 enemy ships landing on the moon's surface. Ethan looked at Lorana, and for the first time, he understood. This wasn't just a crash. This wasn't just an alien visitor. This was the beginning of a war. The enemy ships landed with a thunderous shock that traveled through the ground and into the base walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Loose tools rattled. The floor vibrated like a heartbeat, but not a human one. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the blinking red lights across the console. Lorana stepped forward, her posture straight and calm, as if this was normal for her, as if being hunted was routine. Ethan swallowed hard. "They're really here." Lorana nodded slowly. Her eyes glowed brighter, the silver inside them swirling like storm clouds. "They came faster than expected," she said quietly. "They must have followed my escape trail." Ethan rubbed his forehead. "I thought you said they couldn't track you." She looked at him with a strange, unreadable expression. "They can't unless they found a way to detect the bond between us." Ethan froze. "So they're tracking me?" She didn't answer. Her silence was enough. Ethan felt a cold wave spread through his chest. He backed up until he hit the wall behind him. "This is insane. I'm not special. I'm not chosen. I'm just." Lorana stepped close, her voice low and steady. "You are not just anything," Ethan warned. "The universe does not form bonds by mistake." He shook his head. "I'm not ready for this. No one ever is." Another impact hit the ground, so strong the lights flickered off for a second. The emergency lights switched on, bathing the room in deep red. The base computer spoke in a cold robotic tone. "Unidentified units breaching perimeter. Outer door compromised." Ethan's heart thudded wildly. "They're breaking in." Lorana turned toward the hallway, her jaw tightening. "They will capture me first. Then they will search for you. They will not let you live, Ethan. You carry value. Too much value." Ethan stared at her. "What do they even want? Why are they after this map?" Lorana touched her chest, near the glowing symbols. "The map is ancient. Older than my race. Older than yours. It leads to a weapon locked in deep space. A weapon that can erase entire star systems in a single pulse." Ethan stared at her in disbelief. "One pulse? That's impossible." Her voice dropped lower. "The universe is full of impossible things." Ethan rubbed his face, pacing. "So the Thorn Collective wants this weapon, and you stole something from them." Lorana shook her head. "I didn't steal. I discovered, and I refused to give it to them." Ethan swallowed. "And for that they want to kill you?" Her gaze hardened. "They want to kill millions. Planets. Civilizations. Anything in their path." Ethan felt the room closing in. The pressure. The fear. The weight of something far bigger than he could understand. Then, a loud metallic scream echoed through the base. The outer airlock door was being ripped open. Ethan instinctively stepped closer to Lorana. "What do we do? Fight? Hide?" Lorana didn't blink. Humans hide. Valyrians fight. Ethan took a breath. I guess I don't have a choice then." Lorana tilted her head slightly, something like respect flashing in her eyes. "You do," she said, "but choosing to stand with me makes you stronger." Before Ethan could reply, a deep mechanical growl echoed from the hallway. It didn't sound like any alien he had ever imagined. More like a machine, mixed with a predator. Ethan's voice trembled. "Please tell me that sound isn't normal." Lorana's tone became cold. "They sent hunters." Ethan blinked. "Hunters?" She nodded. "Not alive. Not dead. They are weapon creatures designed only to track, capture, and punish." A shadow moved near the end of the hallway. "Tall. Very tall." Ethan whispered. "That thing is looking for you." Lorana corrected him softly. "It is looking for us." The creature stepped into the light. Its body was metal and flesh twisted together. Sharp armor mixed with pale skin that looked stretched and painful. Its face was covered by a mask with glowing red lines like veins. Ethan's stomach dropped. "Oh no, 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 no." The hunter let out a low mechanical hiss. It sensed them. Lorana stepped forward without fear. Her voice became sharp, commanding. "Stay behind me, Ethan." But Ethan shook his head. "No, I can't hide behind you every time." Lorana stared at him, surprised, almost confused. "That is exactly what humans should do," she said. "But I'm not every human," Ethan said quietly. "And you said I'm bonded to you." Her eyes softened for a microsecond. "Very well." The hunter moved with a sudden speed, too fast, like it was blinking across the floor. Ethan gasped. Lorana pushed him back and raised her hand. Blue energy flared across her palm, bright, swirling, alive. Ethan shielded his eyes. The hunter leaped, and Lorana blasted it with a burst of energy so forceful the entire hallway shook. The creature slammed into the wall, but it didn't fall. It crawled forward, metal claws scraping the floor. Ethan whispered, "How do we stop it?" Lorana answered with a cold whisper, "You don't stop a hunter. You only slow it." The hunter lunged again. Lorana pushed Ethan aside and blocked it with her arm. Sparks flew. Metal scraped against glowing blue skin. Ethan grabbed a metal bar from the floor and swung it at the creature's head. The hunter turned. Its red eyes locked onto him. Lorana shouted, "Ethan, run!" But Ethan stood still, gripping the metal bar, refusing to leave her. The hunter stepped closer, its claws ready to strike. Ethan felt fear choke his throat. Then, the console behind them lit up with a new warning. A second hunter was entering the base. Ethan whispered, "We're not getting out of this, are we?" Lorana stepped in front of him, her voice calm, even in danger. "We will survive," she said, "because we must." Outside, more ships landed. The war for the weapon had begun, and the universe had chosen two unlikely partners to stand in its way. The hallway shook as the second hunter entered the base, its heavy metallic steps echoing like death knocking on the walls. Ethan felt his breath catch in his chest. Two hunters, two monsters designed to chase, crush, and drag Lorana back to the Thorn Collective. And him? He wasn't supposed to matter. But the bond changed everything. Now he mattered too much. The first hunter snarled, its metal jaw snapping open like a trap. Its glowing red eyes locked onto Ethan with deadly focus. Lorana reached for him, pulling him behind her with one swift motion. "Stay close," she whispered. "You stray for 1 second, you die." Ethan nodded, trying not to panic. His palms were shaking, his chest tight, his mind screaming for him to run. But he didn't. He stayed, because something inside him, some deep instinct, knew that leaving Lorana now would mean losing everything. The two hunters moved slowly toward them, one on the left, one on the right, blocking both ends of the hallway. Ethan whispered, "We're trapped." Lorana didn't blink. "No, we make our own exit." She raised her hand. Blue energy swirled around her palm, stronger than before, brighter, alive like a star. Ethan stepped back as the air crackled. Lorana slammed her palm into the wall beside them. A shockwave exploded outward, metal bending, panels tearing apart, sparks flying like wild fireflies. A hole opened in the side of the hallway, leading into a lower maintenance tunnel. She grabbed Ethan's arm. "Jump." He swallowed hard. "That's a long drop." Lorana shoved him. He fell. The wind rushed past him, cold, sharp, until he hit soft landing foam used for emergency repairs. Lorana dropped beside him a second later with a quiet thud. Above them, the hunters roared and tore through the opening, tearing metal apart like paper. Ethan sat up quickly. They're coming. Lorana grabbed his wrist. Follow me. They ran through the maintenance tunnel, the lights flickering above them, pipes hissing with escaping steam, shadows dancing along the walls. Ethan shouted, "Where are we going?" Lorana didn't slow. "To the core room," she said. "We must shut down all beacons. The hunters follow signals. They follow energy." Ethan nodded, but struggled to keep up. "These tunnels go everywhere. How do you know the way?" She replied without looking back. "I can see electrical flow." Ethan blinked. "You what?" "The bond gave me access to your systems," she said. "Your machines speak to me through you." Ethan didn't understand that at all, but he didn't have time to think. A loud crash echoed behind them, one of the hunters dropping into the tunnel. Ethan felt his blood run cold. "It's in here with us." Footsteps hit the floor. Heavy, slow, hunting. Lorana turned sharply and grabbed Ethan, pushing him into a side tunnel. "Do not make a sound," she whispered. Ethan pressed his back to the cold wall. He held his breath. The hunter moved past their tunnel entrance, its red eyes scanning, its claws tapping against the metal floor, sniffing the air like a predator searching for prey. Ethan's heart raced. He could hear his own pulse pounding in his ears. He prayed the creature couldn't. Lorana's hand moved to his chest. Not a gentle touch, a strategic one. She pressed 2 fingers above his heart. Ethan froze. "What are you?" "Quiet," she whispered. A warm pulse spread through his chest. His heartbeat slowed, almost stopping. His breathing softened. The hunter paused, listening. Its head turned, metal creaking, eyes glowing brighter. Then it moved on. Ethan let out a breath he didn't know he had been holding. "You just control my heartbeat?" Lorana removed her hand. "It is part of the bond. We share energy. I can calm your system if needed." Ethan stared at her, speechless. "That's terrifying." A small smile touched the corner of her mouth. "It is useful." They continued down the tunnel, moving fast but careful. The tunnel grew darker, lights dimming, until the only glow came from Lorana's skin and the symbols on her arms. Finally, they reached a heavy door with caution stripes across it. Lorana pushed it open, and they stepped inside. Rows of humming machines lined the room. The heart of the base, the energy core. Ethan quickly moved to the console. "If we shut this down, the hunters won't track us?" Lorana nodded. "They will search blindly, and we will disappear into the tunnels." Ethan began typing commands, hands shaking. Behind him, Lorana watched the door, her body tense, ready to fight. "Almost there," Ethan whispered. "Just a few more seconds." The console beeped. The lights flickered. Then, power down initiated. The room fell silent. Dark. Still. Ethan exhaled in relief. "We did it." Lorana didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the doorway. "No," she whispered. "We did not." Ethan turned. A shadow moved in the doorway. A shape larger than the hunters. Taller. Heavier. Then it stepped into the room. Not a hunter. Something worse. A being wrapped in dark armor, glowing red lines across its chest, a tall helmet hiding its face. It radiated authority and cruelty. Ethan's mouth went dry. What is that?" Lorana's voice trembled for the first time. "It is not a hunter." She stepped in front of Ethan, her hands gathering blue light. "It is a warden," Ethan whispered. "What does that mean?" Lorana answered with pain in her voice. "It means they're not here to capture me anymore. Ethan, they are here to kill us both." The warden lifted its arm. A red blade of energy extended from its wrist with a sharp, deadly hum. Ethan took a slow step back. Lorana stood tall, fearless, but he saw the truth in her eyes. Even she, even with her strength, was afraid of this thing. The warden's voice echoed across the room, cold, distorted, like metal scraping metal. "Return the map, or face extinction." Ethan whispered. "Lorana, what do we do?" She didn't look at him. She was locked on the warden. Her voice came out like steel. "We survive, whatever it takes." Then she added, softer, and far more dangerous. And if we fall, we fall together. The warden stepped forward. The air vibrated with its power. Ethan braced himself, because this wasn't a fight for escape anymore. This was a fight to stay alive, and the universe wasn't on their side. The warden stepped inside the core room, its towering shadow swallowing the red emergency lights. The air felt heavier, colder, like the room itself understood death had entered. Ethan's knees trembled. He had seen the hunters, and those were nightmares made of metal. But this thing, this armored monster with glowing red lines pulsing across its chest, felt different. It felt alive, intelligent, cruel. Its voice echoed again, deeper this time, almost vibrating through Ethan's skull. Lorana of the Valyrian Vanguard. You will kneel. Lorana stood still, unmoving, her silver eyes locked on the creature. I kneel to no darkness, she whispered. The warden tilted its head, a long, slow motion like a predator studying its prey. Then you will die, together. Ethan swallowed hard. Lorana took one step forward. Her blue glow brightened, soft at first, then sharper, like lightning trapped inside her skin. Ethan whispered, Lorana, your energy. She didn't answer him. She lifted her hand, and blue fire gathered around her palm. The warden raised its arm. A red blade extended again, brighter and hotter than before. Silence. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3. Then, they moved. The warden dashed forward with impossible speed. Lorana met it halfway, her energy sparking like a star going supernova. Their clash shook the entire room. Metal walls groaned. The floor cracked. Wind blasted outward as blue and red collided. Ethan fell back, rolling behind a console. He peeked over the edge. What he saw made his breath stop. Lorana and the warden were locked in a storm of light. Blue swirling around her arms, red searing from the warden's blade, each strike sending ripples through the air. Lorana punched with glowing fists. The warden blocked with its blade, carving lines of fire into the air. Ethan whispered, they're destroying the room. A console exploded. Lorana dodged barely. The warden's blade cut straight through a wall, slicing it like paper. Ethan crawled toward a fallen tool rack, searching for something, anything he could use. But the floor shook violently as the warden slammed Lorana into the wall. Ethan shouted, Lorana. She pushed off the wall, breathing hard, sparks glowing under her skin. I'm fine. But Ethan saw the truth. Her strength was fading. Her glow was dimmer. Her energy was draining fast. The warden lifted her by the throat. Lorana struggled, fingers clawing at its arm, her energy flickering. The warden leaned close. Your bond has made you weak. The human slows you down. Ethan froze. Weak? Because of him? Lorana struggled to speak, her voice cracking. No, he strengthens me. The warden tightened its grip. Then he dies first. It tossed Lorana aside like a broken weapon and turned toward Ethan. Ethan's breath stuttered. He grabbed the metal tool he found, a long wrench, and held it like a sword. The warden paused, then laughed. A horrible mechanical laugh. Cold, hollow, cruel. You think metal will protect you? Ethan didn't answer. He stepped back, but there was nowhere to run. He whispered, Lorana, I need you. Before the warden could strike, the room flashed blue. Lorana appeared in front of Ethan, breathing hard, wounded, but standing strong. Her voice was low. If he touches you, the bond breaks. Ethan blinked. The bond breaks? What does that mean? Lorana didn't look at him. It means I die. Ethan felt ice fill his chest. What? She whispered without turning. We share energy. If you are harmed, my life force collapses. The warden stepped forward. Then I will enjoy ending you both. Lorana spread her arms, shielding Ethan with her body. Her blue glow surged, unstable, frantic, like a flame burning too fast. Ethan grabbed her arm. Lorana, you'll kill yourself? Stop. She didn't move. This is my duty. Ethan's voice cracked. And what about me? She finally glanced back. A soft, sad look. You are the bond one never wanted, but the only one I needed. Ethan's breath caught. Before he could speak, The warden lunged. Lorana met the strike with both hands, catching the red blade in a burst of blue fire. Energy exploded around them. The shockwave threw Ethan against the wall. He screamed her name, Lorana. The room filled with blinding light, blue and red spiraling together. The warden pushed forward, overpowering her. She was losing. Her knees shook. Her energy flickered violently. Her arms trembled. Ethan dragged himself across the floor. He didn't care about fear anymore. He didn't care about dying. He cared about her. He grabbed her waist from behind, trying to steady her. Their bodies connected. A powerful pulse shot through them both. Blue light erupted from Lorana's skin, fusing with Ethan's touch, radiating outward in a massive burst. The warden was blown across the room, slamming into the wall with a thunderous crash. Ethan gasped, staring at his glowing hands. Lorana, what was that? She leaned against him, breathing hard. The bond. It awakened. He held her tighter. You said I make you weak. She shook her head weakly. No, you make me more than myself. The warden stood again, slowly, its armor cracked, its lights flickering. But it wasn't defeated. Not even close. It stepped forward, voice glitching. You cannot win. The collective is coming. We are only the first wave. Ethan and Lorana both stared in horror. First wave? Lorana whispered. No, not now. Not so soon. Ethan held her as the warden raised its blade again. From the console behind them, a new warning flashed. Multiple hostile signatures detected. Fleet arriving. Ethan whispered, There's more coming? Lorana nodded slowly, painfully. This was not an attack. This was only their message. The warden lifted its blade for the killing strike. Ethan held Lorana close. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The warden lifted its blade, glowing bright red, aimed straight at Ethan. Ethan tightened his arms around Lorana, not to protect himself, but to protect her, even though she was the warrior and he was just a human caught in a storm too big to understand. The warden stepped forward. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Lorana pushed Ethan behind her. Run, she whispered. Ethan shook his head instantly. No, you must. I'm not leaving you. Lorana closed her eyes for a brief second. A second full of sadness. Full of something Ethan didn't understand yet. You will die, Ethan. Then let me die standing beside you. Her breath caught. For the first time since meeting her, Lorana looked unsure, confused, shaken. The warden's blade hummed, ready to strike. Enough, the warden said. End this farce. The human dies first. Ethan stepped in front of Lorana, his hands trembling, his heart pounding, but he didn't move away. Lorana grabbed him, pulling him back sharply. No, she hissed. You break the bond. I lose my power. We fall together. Ethan whispered breathlessly. Then we fall together. Lorana stared at him, long, silent, her silver eyes glowing in the red light. Something changed inside her. Something deep. She moved her hand slowly and placed it over his heart. Ethan felt warmth pour into him, a calm, steady rhythm, her energy flowing into his chest. Lorana whispered, Then stand with me. Ethan ward of earth. The warden lunged. Ethan and Lorana moved as one. A burst of blue light exploded from their joined hands. The energy spiraled, twisted, merged. No longer hers, no longer his, but something new. The blast hit the warden like a shockwave, sending it crashing into the far wall and breaking a massive crack across its armor. Ethan gasped, staring at his glowing arms. Lorana, what is happening to me? She stepped beside him, breathing heavily. The bond is evolving. Is that good? She gave a weak smile. It is dangerous. The warden rose again, slower this time, its armor sparking with damaged circuitry. But it wasn't defeated. Not even close. Red light pulsed across its body, brighter, harsher. Then, the room lights snapped off. Darkness swallowed everything. Ethan's voice trembled. Lorana, her hand clasped as tightly. I am here. A cold whisper echoed through the darkness. You cannot hide. You cannot escape. You cannot win. The warden was using the darkness to confuse them. Ethan whispered, It's close. I can hear it. Lorana leaned closer to him, her voice lower. Ethan, listen carefully. I need you to do something dangerous. He swallowed hard. Tell me. You must let the bond guide you. How? You must trust me, she said softly. Completely. Without fear. Without doubt. The warden's footsteps grew louder. Closer. Circling them. Ethan whispered back. I trust you. Lorana's hand slid to his chest again. A sudden jolt of power shot through his body. His vision blurred. His ears rang. Something inside him shifted, like a hidden door opening. Then, Ethan saw it. A faint red outline moving through the dark. The warden. Its energy. Its position. He whispered. Lorana, I can see it in the dark. She nodded. The bond has awakened your perception. Ethan stepped slowly to the left. The warden mirrored his movements, thinking Ethan couldn't see it. But Ethan could. He raised his arm. Blue sparks flickered across his fingertips. Lorana gasped. You are channeling energy through me. Ethan didn't know how. He didn't know why. But the power felt real. Alive. Dangerous. The warden rushed forward with a roar. Ethan and Lorana thrust their hands out together. A massive blue wave exploded across the room. A beam of light that slammed into the warden's chest, smashing it through pipes and into the opposite wall. The warden lay motionless. Ethan collapsed to one knee. His breath shattered, his body shaking. Lorana, I can't handle this power. She knelt beside him, placing her hands on his face. You are stronger than you think. No, I'm not. You are not just human, she whispered fiercely. You are the rare one, the catalyst, the chosen link. Your bloodline carries what mine needs. Ethan stared at her, confused. My bloodline. She nodded slowly. Yes, your ancestors long ago interacted with my race. A connection was formed. A dormant code placed in your DNA. Only a few humans carry it. Only one in millions. Ethan felt like the world was spinning. So, I was always meant for this. Lorana whispered. Yes, you were destined for the bond. Before Ethan could respond, a deep metallic laugh filled the room. The warden rose again. Its helmet cracked, a single red eye glowing through the broken mask. You cannot kill a warden. It rasped. You can only delay it. Ethan grabbed Lorana's arm. We need to run. No, she whispered. We need to leave the base. But the exit is blocked. Not all exits, she said. She dragged Ethan toward the back of the core room, toward a heavy metal hatch. The warden stepped forward, limping but powerful. The collective is here. It growled. You have no hope. Ethan shouted. Lorana, open the hatch. She slammed her palm onto the panel, blue energy surging into it. The lock clicked. The hatch slid open, revealing a long shaft leading down, deep into the moon's surface, toward darkness. Ethan stared. What is this? Lorana replied quietly. Your escape. Our only chance. This shaft connects to the old mining tunnels under the lunar rock. Ethan looked down at the endless drop. No ropes, no ladders, we'll fall. Before he could finish, the warden charged. Lorana didn't hesitate. She grabbed Ethan and jumped. The wind roared around them. Ethan screamed. Lorana held him tight, blue flames sparking around her arms. The warden reached the edge of the hatch. Too late. Ethan and Lorana plunged into the darkness below. Falling, falling, falling. Ethan shouted over the rushing wind. Lorana, we're going to die. Her voice was calm. No, not today. She wrapped her arms fully around him. Blue light burst from her back, like wings of fire. Their fall slowed, then stopped, hovering inches above the rock floor. Ethan gasped for breath. What just happened? Lorana lifted him gently. The bond, she whispered. It is protecting us. Above them, the warden's roar echoed through the shaft. Ethan trembled. What now? Lorana turned toward the dark tunnel ahead. We go deeper, to the old tunnels, to the place I hoped we would never have to visit. Ethan swallowed. And what is there? Lorana looked at him with a mixture of dread and destiny. The map, she said softly, and the weapon it leads to. Ethan felt the darkness around them grow heavier. The real journey was only beginning. The mining tunnel breathed cold air across Ethan's face as he and Lorana stood in the quiet darkness. Far above them, the warden's roar echoed through the shaft, fading slowly but not disappearing. It was still hunting, still coming. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead. Lorana, how far does this tunnel go? Lorana scanned the darkness ahead, her silver eyes glowing softly. Far, she whispered. Deeper than any human has ever gone. Ethan swallowed the fear building in his throat. And the weapon is down here. Lorana shook her head gently. No, the weapon is far beyond this moon. But the key is here. The map. The ancient star core that shows the path. Ethan rubbed his forehead. And the Thorn Collective wants it to destroy worlds. Yes, she whispered. And they will destroy this moon, the base above, and us to get it. Ethan looked down the tunnel, feeling the weight of the entire galaxy closing around him. Then let's get this key before they do. Lorana stepped ahead, and Ethan followed. The tunnel grew colder as they walked. The walls changed from rough rock to smooth dark stone, etched with glowing patterns that pulsed faintly. Symbols older than Earth itself. Ethan traced one of them with his fingers. These look ancient. Lorana nodded slowly. They are. These were carved by the makers. The first civilization. The ones who created the star weapon. Ethan's breath caught. The first civilization, like millions of years ago. More, she answered quietly. Before time was counted. Before galaxies had names. Ethan stared at the glowing lines. What happened to them? Lorana whispered the answer like a ghost story. They used a weapon. A rumble echoed behind them. Distant, but getting closer. Ethan tensed. Is that the warden? Lorana shook her head. No, it's worse. She grabbed his hand. We need to move faster. But the tunnel ahead opened suddenly into a massive underground chamber. Ethan froze. What is this place? The chamber was enormous, big enough to hold cities, with a ceiling so high it vanished into darkness. Rows of giant stone pillars rose from the floor, each carved with glowing symbols that spiraled upward like galaxies. And in the center, floating above a circular platform of black stone, was a sphere of pure light. Blue, shimmering, alive. Lorana stepped forward reverently. The star core, she whispered. The map. Ethan stared in awe. It's beautiful. She nodded. And dangerous. She turned to him slowly, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. Only someone with your genetic code, someone bonded with a Valyrian, can activate it. Ethan blinked. Me? You want me to touch that thing? You must, she said. Only then can we know the true path. Only then can we stop the collective. Ethan walked toward the floating sphere, his hand shaking. I'm scared. Lorana placed her hand on his shoulder. So am I. He looked at her, really looked. Her glowing skin, her tired silver eyes, the soft rise and fall of her breath, the wounds she hid beneath her armor, the fear she never showed. He whispered, You'll stay with me, right? She nodded gently. Yes, Ethan. Always. Ethan reached up. His fingers touched the surface of the star core. Light exploded around him. His vision blurred. His heart raced. The chamber vanished. He felt himself floating, falling, spinning through galaxies. Stars. Worlds collapsing. Worlds being born. Flashes of the weapon. A massive construct hidden inside a dying star. A machine capable of turning darkness into fire. Fire into destruction. Destruction into silence. Ethan gasped. The vision overwhelmed him. Then, a final image burned into his mind. A planet being obliterated in a single pulse. Earth. Ethan snapped back in the chamber, collapsing to his knees, clutching his chest, gasping for breath. Lorana grabbed him urgently. Ethan, what did you see? He looked up at her with horror in his eyes. The weapon, if it fires again. Earth is in the path. Her expression shattered. No, it's true, Ethan whispered. And the Thorn Collective is heading straight for the weapon. If they reach it before us. He couldn't finish the sentence. Lorana closed her eyes tightly, pain flashing across her face. I feared this, she whispered. That is why I ran. Why they hunted me. Why the bond chose you. Ethan stared at her. The bond chose me? She nodded slowly. Valyrian bonds do not form by accident. The universe spun a thread between us long before we met. Ethan felt the room shake, a tremor that made dust fall from the ceiling. Lorana's eyes snapped open. They're here. A metallic screech echoed through the chamber. The warden stepped into the doorway. Armor cracked, sparks flying, but still alive. Behind it, shadows moved. More soldiers. More machines. The Thorn Collective had arrived. Ethan grabbed Lorana's hand. Lorana, what do we do? She looked at him with fierce determination in her glowing eyes. We protect the core, she said, and we escape with a map. Ethan stared at her. Escape? How? She held his hand tighter. With trust. The warden stepped forward, voice cracking with fury. The map belongs to the collective. Surrender it, or be erased. Lorana took a deep breath, then whispered softly to Ethan. When I say run, you run, and you do not look back. Ethan's voice cracked. Lorana, no. She stepped in front of him, blue fire swirling around her. Ethan, the universe chose you, not me. Her glow intensified, brighter, hotter, almost blinding. The warden lifted its blade. Your sacrifice will mean nothing. Lorana smiled softly. It means everything. Then she whispered to Ethan, run. She unleashed a massive burst of blue energy. A wave so powerful it shattered the nearest pillars and sent the warden flying backward through the chamber wall. The entire chamber trembled violently. Ethan stumbled, shouting, Lorana. But the light was too bright, too intense, too blinding. He felt himself being pushed backward by her energy, pushed toward an exit tunnel on the far side of the chamber. Lorana, don't do this. Her voice echoed through the fading light. I will find you, where the stars meet the dark. My partner. The floor cracked beneath Ethan's feet. A sudden quake shook the entire cave. The ceiling began to collapse. Dust fell. Stone shattered. The ground split open. Ethan lost his footing. Fell. Tumbled into the dark. The chamber roof caved in. The light vanished. The world swallowed itself. And Lorana's voice faded into silence. Ethan's fall ended hard. He hit cold rock, groaning in pain. He coughed, dust filling his lungs. Lorana, silence. Only silence. He tried to stand, but his legs trembled. The tunnel he landed in was sealed by fallen stone. Lorana was gone, buried in the collapse. Or fighting alone. Or worse. Ethan pressed his forehead against the cold stone, tears mixing with dust. Lorana, I'm coming back for you. I swear. He reached into his pocket, felt something warm, something glowing. The star core shard, a small piece of the map, the key she forced into his hand before the collapse. It pulsed with soft blue light. Ethan looked up at the dark tunnel ahead. You said you'd find me. He clenched the shard tightly. Now I'll find you. He took a trembling step forward, toward the darkness, toward the unknown, toward the path the bond had chosen. The war wasn't over. It was only beginning.